if they can do that, but I can't get a text back from some of my friends for like a couple days. There's like no
Right,
like I'm
exactly.
like arguing with my friends like, hey, the chain smokers can do it. Like, why are you so busy?
This podcast is about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about Friendzone and the record you have coming out, and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
cool, cool. So Austin, Texas. Are you born and raised there?
I was, yeah. Jesse wasn't. He's from a small town in California called Bishop. And actually, I just lied to you a second ago. So I always say that I was born and raised in Austin, but I was actually born in a small town outside of Dallas. But I only lived there for like 2 months, and so I feel like it's just too
Oh yeah,
confusing to count it because I grew up in
sure.
Austin.
So you
Yeah,
were born there. Would your parents get a different job or something, or how
yeah,
did you make it out
yeah.
to Austin? Okay.
Yeah. We moved pretty quickly out of the Dallas area, but yeah, basically been in Austin my whole childhood. It was a great place to grow up. I absolutely loved it. Um, the lake life here is pretty big. The lake was fun. Restaurant scene here is amazing. Um, and then I moved out to Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where I met Jesse. We both went to the same university together. So one of those classic stories of two drunk college idiots finding each other in college and rooming together and all of a sudden starting a music project. So
Okay, so you guys are
yeah,
roommates and everything.
yeah, we
Wow,
were.
that's
Mhm.
cool. Rad. Well, how did you get into music?
So I'd always been into music from a very, very young age. When I started in middle school, we had to choose between band, choir, and orchestra as like our musical elective. You only had to take it for a year, but I chose band, and so I was a trumpet player and a percussionist, and I stuck with that through high school. And then upon high school, I actually started singing as well, and I was in private vocal lessons. I joined the choir, and then I was also in the full orchestra at my high school as well. So I kind of started doing all three. And then I mean, I've been part of like musical competitions and like composition competitions as well, doing like music theory. I got the chance to play in Carnegie Hall when I was 16, which was a
Wow.
lot of fun. And that was like in a full orchestra setting. Um, and then when I went to college, I wanted to go for acting and music, and I wanted to be in films and be on Broadway and all that. Um, but I just the training like wasn't really for me. I kind of learned, and so I switched to um, more of like a real world like businessy sort of major. But I was still like doing music on the side. Like I was just like learning stuff on YouTube.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like making stuff like here and there, like on GarageBand, but it was all like alternative rock and such. Just because that's what I liked at the time. It wasn't necessarily
Sure.
like electronic. Um, I dated this girl who was like super super into electronic music, and I would always make fun of her for liking computer music. I'm just like, oh, that's so easy to make. Like this is stupid. Why do you
Right,
like
right.
it? And she's like, well, if it's so easy, why don't you try to make it? I'm like, fine, I will. And then I sat down, I tried to make a song, I fell in love with it, and now this is my thing. So jokes.
So you could thank her for that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
I mean, we
Wow.
broke up, but
But still, but
yeah.
to tell you that it's not as easy as it sounds, and I'm sure it wasn't, right?
Oh, it absolutely wasn't. Like I'm still, obviously trying to improve and figure stuff out. And especially now working with Jesse, I mean, we feel like we kind of complete each other in terms of skill set. So we each have things that the other person doesn't, and we learn and we grow together. We make stuff together. Um, and so that's been nice to have him because I feel like before we connected, we each had our individual projects, and
Mhm.
they weren't really getting far because we were like lacking the pieces the other person had. And speak of the devil,
Yeah, here he is.
yeah, boom,
Hey, Jesse, how's it going?
I'm here. I made it.
right
You
on cue.
made
We were
it.
just talking trash about you specifically.
Yeah, understandable.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for being here. This we've gotten to Hayden's story a little bit on how where he was born and raised, how he got into music. Where are you from originally, Jesse?
So I actually grew up in a small little town in California called Bishop.
Where
Um,
is that exactly? Because I'm from Southern California, so I'm curious.
Okay, yeah. So are you familiar with like where Mammoth is, the ski resort?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. So Bishop is about 30 minutes outside of Mammoth.
Okay. So you up on the mountain or no?
No, we're in the valley. Everyone kind of knows Bishop because we've got a really good bakery that everyone stops at before they go to Mammoth, but that's about
Okay.
it.
So grew up there. What was it like growing up in a small town? I would imagine you would go snowboarding or skiing quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it was a great place to grow up. Um, I kind of made my own fun, so I did a lot of skiing, a lot of bouldering, a lot of hiking and stuff like that. A lot of other kids wanted to go to the mall and go shopping, but I was over here just trying to have a good time in the outdoors.
Okay. The mall, that was a big thing there. Oh, you're like, well, everyone else wanted to go to the mall.
Well, the one that doesn't exist there.
Okay, right on. And how did you get into music?
I was actually in my high school band.
Oh, cool.
I played the saxophone. Um, Funny thing is that I was terrible. My my band teacher didn't like me. And it's really funny because every time that my mom sees him in the grocery store now, because of course they see each other all the time,
Sure.
he's always just like, he always just laughs and like shakes his head that I'm in music now.
That's funny.
But of course,
It's interesting you both came from that world of like band.
yeah,
So you played sax and Hayden, you played trumpet
Yep. And drums.
and
Yeah,
drums.
they're both.
And then
Just
how
so I
did
could be like extra band nerdy, you know?
okay,
Just
sure,
one
sure.
just one wasn't enough.
You needed to pile it on with more
Yeah.
band. Right
yeah.
on. So how did you get into electronic music, Jesse? Were you into it prior to meeting Hayden, or is this something that you guys kind of got into together?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of the nerdy kid in high school that was like in the parking lot, like listening to electronic music with his friends. I'm trying to think of like the first song. I was listening to like a bunch of really old stuff too, like the old Cascada and all that, like
Mm-hmm.
before it was even like mainstream at all. So I don't know. It was a very random process for me, like the way I got into it. And um, I remember like senior year, like me and my friends driving to the beach for like our little senior trip and listening to Swedish House Mafia and stuff like that. So it was a long term thing for me for sure.
When did you start trying to write on it, or write electronic music?
Um, let's see. So I actually got a job working like in the clubs in Salt Lake City when I was 20. Like I was definitely underage, like kind of being snuck in the back to just go work and do stuff like that.
Okay.
And at one point I was just like, you know what? I see a lot of these DJs in here. I'm like, I feel like I could be better than they are. It's very ignorant of me to just go ahead and say that, but um, I started DJing then. So let's see, I'm 27 now. I don't know, this must have been like 2014, something like that. And then I realized at a certain point, I was like, well, I love DJing. I kind of want to take it to the next step and start like writing electronic music. And so that started probably like a year or so after that.
Were you already living with Hayden or friends with Hayden at this point?
No, so we moved in. I don't even know, Hayden. When do you think that was?
I think we moved in together in 2017 or 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, it took a while for us to like really kind of like actually be like, you know what, Friendzone should be this joint project.
Yeah.
After we had been roommates, but
Actually, what's funny, so Jesse, I was telling him this earlier. So I started producing because of my ex-girlfriend who said that, I should try it because I thought it was so easy to make computer music. But we actually met each other through our ex-girlfriends as well. So double whammy there. It was like I kind of quasi knew who Jesse was, just because we kind of had like some overlap in our circle of friends, but I don't think we had ever like officially met. We just like kind of knew of each other, just through like word of mouth. But um, my ex girlfriend took me to a Chainsmoker show for my 21st birthday, and it was like the first time I've ever gone to a club, like a real like EDM club. I mean, I had a fake ID, like I went like to like bars and some like 21 plus shows, but I hadn't been to like a real nightclub with like a tier A DJ, you know, so to speak, playing. And so that was my 21st birthday gift. And I remember right before the Chainsmokers went on, my ex ran into her best friend, which was Jesse's girlfriend at the time. And so of course Jesse's, you know, with her. And so Jesse and I kind of meet for the first time right as the Chainsmokers intro started.
Oh, wow.
From like years ago. And then like Jesse like ran off to like the front of the crowd. Like he knew exactly what was happening. You know, he was like so about it. But like, yeah, like watching that show and then afterward, you know, we added each other on social media. And then I think it took like a year even like after that, for us to connect. Jesse needed a roommate. He needed a place to live pretty quick. And I had a roommate that had just moved out on a pretty quick like moment's notice as well. And so like usually I'm very like picky about who I live with. You know, I want to make sure that I'm like already like good friends with them. And so I kind of took a chance on rooming with Jesse because I really didn't know him, but I was desperate. And within like a week or two, we were spending like every night together, just like drinking shitty beer, watching Blue Mountain State. And Jesse was teaching me how to DJ because I didn't really know how. You know, I'd only like started just making the music and I didn't get the DJ part down yet. So we kind of started with that. And then we still like had our own like 2 projects, right? But I had this show opportunity to play this really, really big college show for like thousands of kids. And so I'm like, this isn't like stylistically what I usually do because my like side project or like my main project at the time was like a trance project. And so I'm not going to go out there and play a bunch of like Above and Beyond for incoming freshmen that just want to hear like, you know, Black Beatles or whatever. So, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of more Jesse's, you know, realm. And so I'm like, Jesse, what if you played this show with me and, you know, we'll just do it like a one-off scenario, just kind of help me with it. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. We had the time of our lives, not only preparing for this show, but playing this show together. And at that point, we were already such good friends that after that show, we're like, you know what, let's like seriously talk about this. And that's when we landed on, okay, we're going to do this project together. We thought about, you know, launching a new project, like at Origin, like completely new name and everything. But Jesse already had the name Friendzone. He was already playing under that. And so I just kind of joined up as Friendzone's new member. I was hired.
Oh, okay. So Friendzone was your project previous, Jesse.
Yeah.
And were you pretty active? Like, were you playing quite a bit? And was it different? Obviously, I mean, as far as your fans knew, then now you have 2 of you, or was it not far long enough yet? Or,
I mean, so stylistically, it was pretty much the same. We wanted to keep sort of that high energy, like sort of electronic music sort of thing going. Yeah, at the time we were super active actually, because I started like, you know, like I said, working in the clubs. And then from there, I like played a DJ competition that we ended up winning, which like let me open up for a show with the same company that I was working for.
oh, awesome.
My first show that I ever got to play was with Pierce Fulton, rest in peace, like electronic legend. And so that like that was a really special like thing for us. And then we kind of just, the more it played out, like the more sort of notoriety we were getting in the scene, just because like we were actually really good at what we were doing, which was, you know, like being respectful of time slots, playing the right music, like, you know, paying attention to what the headliners were actually playing. And so everyone was loving to book Friendzone because we weren't causing any issues.
Sure. That's awesome. And then you grab the attention of a record label and you have an EP coming out. Like, talk to me about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, that took years, but finally, yes.
Yeah. Well, tell me what was, okay. So you guys meet, I mean, not meet, but you start to play together right now as Friendzone. What was like the next level of success? Like, what the next milestone that happened?
I mean, I feel like the first thing that happened was we kind of like released our first track, which at the time was terrible. I mean, it's like, you know, really ampy, like big room, like Tiesto sounding sort of stuff, which was like kind of something that we wanted to release. We thought that was going to be really fun, and it was like a flop, honestly. Like nobody wanted to
People were
listen to
over that sound. We were
that.
trying to
Yeah.
do like, I mean, we love big room progressive stuff, you know, because we come from like both of us entering the electronic scene, like when that stuff was like pretty prominent. And there's
Mm-hmm.
still like a place for that kind of sound like in our shows because we still feel like people really love hearing it, but they don't love to see it released anymore for some reason. So um we went in the direction originally of like making some like big room progressive stuff and it just didn't do that well. Um but then we started writing sort of like future pop hybrids. Like Jesse and I have always been exceptional studiers of amazing vocal talent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not talking about like people that are already like super prominent, you know, like Dea Halsey. You know, of course they're great, but there's so many people out there, and there's so many amazing writers who are also singers in their own right. And so we've fallen in with this group of people. They do a lot of writing for BTS actually, and so
Wow.
the first time that we actually had like what we thought was a complete collaboration, a complete song, was when we worked with our friend Krista Youngs on this song called Neighbors. And kind of looking back, I wish we held on to that one a couple more years and released it, you know, kind of closer to when we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that song did well. It did super well for, you know, who we were years ago. But I feel like I wish that we had kind of written more of our like pop focus closer to this date. But we started like putting out a lot of collaborations with vocalists that I personally think we had no business writing music with because they were eons ahead of us. That I thought at least, you know, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So we were focusing a lot on writing music with great vocalists and just, you know, doing really nice complete songwriting. A lot of that pop fusion kind of stuff. And then we started focusing on remixes as well. And we quickly realized how hard of a game it is when it comes to remixes because you get these bigger artists that will shop out these stems to like, you know, 20, 50, 100, 200 different artists. And so it's really hard to make a remix cut, even if you have a great remix that you've created. I remember like one of our first official remixes we did for Cap Slap. And this was like one of the funnest things that I feel like Jesse and I ever worked on
Mm-hmm.
was our remix for Hangover Love. And they originally weren't going to take it. And I remember Jesse actually made a PowerPoint explaining why they should. And then they're like, okay.
That's
So,
awesome.
you know, like
On
that's
my
how we got
phone
like
at work.
our first like good like remix play. But kind of where we've been going is, you know, we're still focusing on making a lot of remixes for people. A lot of them just don't ever make the cut. And it's not because they're not good, it's just because the sheer volume of other people that make good stuff too. It could fit the label or the song or the release package for various reasons. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've made a couple that are now, we've repurposed them as originals. And so our first song of this year that we released called I Don't Want to Know,
Mm-hmm.
that started off as a remix. Glow in the Dark that we just released, that started out as a remix as well. And then we have a couple others coming out this year. A couple of them now have started out as like true blue originals, but a lot of them that we still have on the radar, those started out as remixes. And we like that formula.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people do that as well. We thought that we kind of like, ooh, this is a good idea, but we feel like it's maybe not as rare as we think. But right now we're definitely a little bit more dancey than we used to be. A lot of focus, you know, again, still on the songwriting, leaving a lot of room for vocals, but still having very exciting melodies, a lot of like future pop movement, future bass, you know, bass lines, things like that. We use a lot of like trap style percussion. So just making sure that we're getting a nice fusion of all the musical styles that we like. And it
Mm-hmm.
works well with our shows because our shows, like Jesse was saying earlier, they're still super high energy. And so there's pockets of getting a crowd, you know, super sweaty, absolutely moving. And then there's pockets of them just really like listening and vibing and having a great time with each other. And then we'll just take them, you know, right back up with the energy again. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good little hodgepodge of like everything that Jesse and I have like loved doing together as friends for all these years. Like there's a place for everything. Everything's exactly how we want it to be. And it's cool because it's a symbol of, you know, our artistry, but also like us as friends.
Sure. Sure. I'm curious to know, like with the remixes, so you a bunch anyone can seek out these stems, and then whoever makes the best one, the artist or band will be like, okay, yeah, that we'll put this out. Like, how does that work?
Kind of like the way it's worked for us is one of two ways. Either it's kind of been shopped to us and like to our management,
Mm-hmm.
or the other option is we just kind of blindly reached out, because we've done that multiple times where we just kind of hit up the artist on Instagram, like, hey, this song is awesome. Like, can we remix it? And they either say, sure, yes, or they never even see our message and, you know, like they don't want to do that. Uh, the funny thing is the Glow in the Dark, it started out as a remix for the Chainsmokers and Millennium. I don't know if you know the track Takeaway.
Okay, if I heard it, I'm sure I would. I'm
Yeah,
just
great
bad with
track.
song titles.
That's fine. But the way that one worked was, you know, we had actually been kind of in contact with the Chainsmokers for years. I remember very specifically one day Hayden was like, hey man, you got to check out the Chainsmokers Instagram story. And I'm like, okay. And I looked through it. I'm like, what am I looking for? And he goes, look when they zoom in on that track title or something. And, you know, on their open browser window, there was an email address for them. And so we just kind of blindly reached out and like built
Oh,
this
that's awesome.
and then I went to Ultra Music Festival, I think it was like 2019, and they had just premiered this brand new track with Millennium. And I was like, oh my Lord, like this is the one, like this is what we need to remix. This is going to be huge. And so we just reached out to them and, you know, fortunately they gave us the stems, but uh, in the end, you know, it wasn't the fit for what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. But that's interesting. Tell me if this is true or not. I heard that Chainsmokers will respond to every message.
Yes, this is true. Like they are amazing.
That
Like
is crazy to me. I would think that they would be getting hundreds of thousands of messages like all the time.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But
What's hilarious is like, so whenever Jesse and I reach out, they'll pretty much get back to us, and even like not even just like a, hey, thanks, dude. Like they will like listen to everything that we have, and they will give us detailed feedback, and it's all within like 12 hours. And so if I mean they are like arguably some of the busiest people on the planet, probably like with their schedule. If they can do that, but I can't get a text back from some of my friends for like a couple days. There's like no,
right, exactly.
Like, I'm like arguing with my friends, like, hey, you know, the Chainsmokers can do it. Like, why are you so busy?
Yeah, they have time to listen to my whole song and then write a little synopsis and give me some notes back. Like, how do you not just say a few words?
In business, you know, venture capitalists as well, and like playing festivals in 3 different continents in the same day. Like, those guys are crazy.
That is nuts. That's cool though. That's so rad. They responded and even sent you the stems. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, that was huge for us. Like obviously that song is huge for us. So.
Yeah. Well, with the pandemic, obviously, playing live is a huge aspect to especially what you guys do. Tell me how that affected you, and then how did that affect the record at all, if it did?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic sucked. Like we had just kind of started booking our first couple of shows, like, you know, outside of our hometown and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really excited, you know, we're like, oh man, we're about to start touring. Like, let's go. This is so exciting. So it bummed us out at first. Like we were like, well, what do we do now? And I think our biggest pivot, like the biggest thing we ever did was just figuring out that we needed to move online as soon as possible. So we did a couple of like live shows on like Twitch and stuff like that. But really mainly like what made the big difference for us was just like realizing that we needed to connect with the community more. And not even a lot of that was even through music. It was just through actually just like outreach. And like, you know, we created a Discord community, and that was always like very tight knit. Like, you know, it was a way for us to be able to talk to our fans like one-on-one and answer questions and just like be very present. The record itself was mostly done at that point, but I would say probably the biggest actual turning point in our career was that we got the song on a Zed review stream, and seriously impressed. Like, I don't think we'll ever get a bigger compliment than what he gave us, which was, this reminds me a little bit of myself and Porter Robinson mixed. And we were just like, yo, like that's crazy. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I just think it was just stuff like that, like, you know, being able to quickly pivot and like change our business model from live shows, if they're so important, into just, you know, becoming people and like meeting other people.
Hmm. And is that, I mean, wow, that's crazy to have that compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So when's the record coming out?
So that track is out. Came out, what was that, August 20th, right?
Yeah, but the full isn't the full. Don't you have a full EP coming out?
I don't know if we're gonna do an actual EP,
Okay.
but we have like a handful of other tracks that are all kind of similar vein from that we're gonna be releasing in the next couple months here.
Oh,
And I'm
awesome.
really excited for that. Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. What about with stuff opening up now? Are you, you know, do you have anything coming down the line as far as like live shows go?
Yeah, so we actually just got done. We were in Vegas last weekend, played out there with a new festival of insomnia called Boston Dreams.
Oh, cool. What was that like?
Oh, it was a blast. Like,
Amazing.
we had the time of
Yeah.
our lives.
Anything Insomniac touches is absolutely incredible. Like the organization prowess that they have as a company is like they put together the most amazing events. And
That's
everyone
awesome.
who goes to them, I feel like artist or fan alike, everyone's always so thrilled to be there and so happy. And it's crazy being in any environment that they put together.
Sure. That's amazing. So,
You know,
so that's huge. And then what you said you were talking about a tour is that something that can be rescheduled?
I mean, not like a formal, we just have like a lot of like tour dates. So we did,
Mhm.
as Jesse was saying, we did Austin this past weekend, Vegas a week
Uh-huh.
before. We've also been to Salt Lake City and Nashville in the
Oh,
last like
cool.
month as well. So
We're in
Salt Lake is
Nashville. I
like,
just moved here like 6 months
oh
ago.
really?
I know I.
We did Breakaway Nashville, which was at that baseball park. That's
Hilarious.
there.
Oh, oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
The
we crashed an after party at Dirty Little Secret and did like a surprise, like 40-minute esque kind of set. I think that's how long it was. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
yeah,
Um,
you guys did the Sound Stadium. What was it called? Like Blended or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we did
Okay.
in Austin too. And then we'll be at the one in San Diego, and then we have a couple shows that are yet to be announced, but there's a couple of them that are some pretty big fishers that we're excited about. So
That's I
yeah,
didn't they're doing one in San Diego. That's where I'm from originally. That's
that's
Ah,
funny.
funny.
Yeah,
That is
all you
so
need to do is
funny.
like come to Austin. You've hit all three of their
I
cities.
know. I didn't realize that San
yeah.
Diego is one. Is this a new thing? Like I didn't realize that even happened in San Diego.
Yeah, it's new as far as I know, but I think it just came about this year.
Okay.
The cool thing about the San Diego show too is the headliners for that show are going to be the Chainsmokers, so it'll kind of come full circle for us.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Yeah, we
That's
know
super
them
cool.
in Vegas too, and you know they're just as nice in person as they are online. So love those
Yeah,
dudes.
I had a chance to meet those guys when I worked in San Diego at a radio station, and they came through when the selfie song came out, and they were like, just kind of getting their feet wet, and then it was crazy to see how within like a year or so they just went like, like they just skyrocketed. That's rad though. So congratulations on those shows. That's huge, and thank you both for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
no,
course. It's a
I
pleasure.
can't, but I'm glad I was here too.
Rad, well, I have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes, and this is something I actually learned from Jesse. You have to be comfortable being your own marketing person, your own agent, your own manager, your own lawyer, your own everything. If you like, you really do. You have to do everything. I mean, first, like the music has to be amazing, yes, but even beyond that, you just have to be so present and so willing to get down and get your hands dirty with every part of your project. And it really shows to fans, especially how you like connect with them. Like when someone's willing to do that and when someone is, maybe a little bit distant and they only do X or they only do Y. So just making sure that you do all that you can. Take every opportunity, submit to every feedback stream, every record pool, and any remix competition. Like you have to try for everything.
Yeah. I always say, fortune favors the bold. Like, don't be afraid to send that email. Like, if we had never emailed the Chainsmokers, like, who knows what, how that would have impacted us.
Yeah,
Like,
we guessed on their email too. They
yeah,
had like leaked part of it on an Instagram story. And then I texted Jesse and I'm like, hey, I think I might know what the Chainsmokers email is. And we had a guess. And then we
yeah.
got it right.
That's amazing. That's
No
so
one knew.
good.
Yeah.
Quick
I
tip,
love
if you
that.
want to get in touch with anybody, it's typically just like first initial, last name at whatever.com. Just try it.
Bringing it backward.